Well, I am here with Don Morgan, who played bass on Live from Lockdown, which is our new CD and Blu-ray coming out June 30th. Don played in the show. He's also here recording new stuff for me for future albums, which we'll talk about in other videos. So, Don, why don't you tell me about it from your perspective, how you learned about the show, like just give a short synopsis of what happened that got you involved with this show.
Well, I been playing with a lot of people that were on the show, and I think we met through Mark Horowitz. You know, we had a musician in that we both knew, and you know, I think that we started talking about this, and you got a hold of me, and you said, would you be interested in playing? And I had heard some of your music and really thought, you know, it's just this whole fusion of progressive rock with lots of other sorts of musical elements was very appealing to me. So, and I listened to your songs and I thought how neat they are. So I just thought, and I could tell from listening to your songs that you really liked the bass. I mean, the bass was a prominent part, and not just rhythmically but melodically.
Right.
So all of that appealed to me. So when you asked, I said, I'm in.
Awesome. That's actually, I'm glad you said that. My favorite instruments, besides the ones I play, obviously, of course, but I mean, like, to put in an arrangement are basses and cellos. Because I love that low end, and I love the rhythm, but also to your point, I love a melodic bass line. I don't always want the bass just holding down the beat.
Yeah.
I want it, and sometimes it depends on the song, of course. But there are a lot of songs that I write that I want the bass to be another instrument that's another melody in the mix. Yeah. So tell me about the show. Tell me about what it was like to play the show.
Well, it was interesting because, you know, we were rehearsing, and then you know, the pandemic hit, and it was going to be, you know, how are we going to do this?
Right.
And you were able to figure out a way to do this, and that is to play in a, you know, initially it was going to be, we had this place rented out, and it was going to have, you know, plenty of room in there for an audience, plus the band. And as the pandemic progressed, it was like, well, we're not going to have people there, but we could still do it because it was a big space. And so, you know, we weren't all crowded around each other. So we had our masks, and we were, you know, we were distancing ourselves, you know, well, and we were able to figure out a way to do this. And I'm just really happy, you know, that we were. And the thing that was sort of interesting was I wondered how it was going to be not to have an audience, you know, that was there. But I really feel like, you know, there was a lot of energy there, even though there was an audience. And so I think that's a testament to the players and to you, and just to the, you know, the music itself. You know, it sort of carried itself. And as I can recall, there were hundreds and hundreds of people online listening to this, which was sort of fun.
Yeah. I think we had a bigger audience online than we would have had in person.
Yeah.
Because I happen to know friends from Colorado watched it. We have some folks who listen to us from overseas.
Yeah.
So that was exciting. So I want to kind of focus on you a little bit. Though I love focusing on me. Don't get me wrong. No, but seriously. So how long have you been playing bass, and how did you get into bass? And is that your first instrument, or was that something you got into later?
Well, I've been playing about 12 years, so it's really not a long time.
Wow.
At another church that I play at, you know, they were looking for a bass player, and I thought, well, I could probably do that, you know. And so I picked up a bass and played with their praise band, and I thought, this is the musical instrument that I am just completely resonant with. And so from that point on, I've had a couple lessons, and for the most part, you know, there's a lot of helps on YouTube and just sort of, you know, reading and listening. And but I think my part of this is probably growing up. So I grew up in Hawaii, and when I was 6 years old, my mother said, why don't you take ukulele lessons? So I took ukulele lessons with 5 other kids who met every Saturday morning in a small school, and we would practice. We would play for 2 hours together, and we would sing songs, and we would, you know, do exercises. But you know, we're 6-year-old kids. You know, we're playing, and I didn't realize it then. But what she was doing was just really training my ear. because some of the exercises that we did, as I look back now, there were chord progressions in a key, and then we would move to another key and another key and another key and do the same chords but in a different key. And so it was really the circle of fifths, but she didn't tell me that because I was 6 years old.
Right.
But what happened was that I realized that that soon that any song I could play in one key, I could play in 5 or 6 other keys. I mean, and so my ear sort of got really trained, with that at a really young age. And the ukulele's great because you can sing along with it. It's small, you can take it anywhere. And I lived on a home farm, and so there wasn't a lot to do, in terms of playing with other kids. And so I just, played a lot on the ukulele. And so when I was actually in college, I was a music major. I played trombone. And when I finally got there, I realized, this is what they mean by music theory and sight singing ear training. I've heard all these chord progressions in my ear that I could just play along with. But that's what that is: 1 3 4 5 2 5 1. That's how you name them. And so then I figured out kind of how to do that. And so I'd always heard in my head, sort of a number thing, like here's 1 chord, here's a 4 chord, 5. And then I realized, that's the natural sound system, number system. But I didn't really know what the name of it was. But in my head, that's what. And I think as a bass player, really the technique's very important. But you have to have an ear, and you have to just understand how you're getting into things and out of things, and it's the ear that really needs to be trained. Right. And so. I think I'd probably been doing that all of my life, listening to music, and so now I had an instrument that would give itself and lend itself to that sort of thing. And then I always heard the bass melodically as well as vertically. Yeah. And so in some of the groups I played with, I've had the freedom to be able to create lines, lyrical lines, that were rhythmic but yet, were melodic. And so I just think it's really been just a wonderful opportunity for me to sort of go back to sort of my childhood and early on in my life when I was really doing a lot of music and then playing and just playing, because I really enjoy the communal aspect of playing in groups, that everybody contributing to a product, which is, just wonderful. So
no, I agree. When I write a song, the last thing I want is somebody to give me exactly what I would have done, right? I actually want to be surprised. I think that's important. So when somebody comes over, like you could have come over today, and for instance, we were working on a new song today, and you could have come over today and you could have played just exactly what I expected, and I would have been happy. But the fact is, you came in and you're like, I hope you don't mind, but I came up with these other parts, and you threw down some of these jazz moments that just, to me, elevated the song. And I think that's what I look into. So I totally agree with you. When you get with a group and everyone contributes their own feel, that's really cool. That's one of the things I like about what we did in the live show was, you guys did a great job of playing the parts that were on the recording, but it still took on a feel of its own. And I think that's important when and honestly, because of that, I've actually even started to re-record one of the songs with the new feel, which you came over and played bass on not long ago. So I think that's really cool. So what are your favorite musical influences? Like some of your favorite stuff to listen to?
I'm very eclectic. I mean, I really, everything from Karen Carpenter to progressive rock and everything sort of in between. Even classical stuff. I mean, my wife and I have season's tickets to the symphony, and when we go there and we listen to that, we leave 2 hours later just completely, our souls are refurbished. But then, we also listen to jazz stuff there and pop stuff, and that's just wonderful. I mean, I think in every sort of music, there are things that sort of can elevate you and reach you. And I think that's what good music does. It kind of reaches into you, whether you're playing it or you're hearing it, and it takes you to another place. And it's kind of watching a movie for 2 hours. It's a really good movie. For those 2 hours, you're in a different place. And you come out and you're talking about it, and all of that I think is just really part of what music does. It's just an incredibly sort of human experience to play it and to listen to it. And to just, it just can reach into your soul and touch you in a way that few things can.
Yeah, agree. I agree. Music is a big part of my life. So, in fact, actually, part of what got me, I went through a period of time where I got out of music, which was a weird period of time for me, but it was important for me because I was growing my family and I was changing careers. But my youngest is a singer, as you know. Ray sang in our show, and she, as a young kid, would sing with us while we were cleaning house. Amelia and Rachel and I would sing harmonies. We'd be listening to music and harmonize with it and all that. And then she started showing a propensity and a talent for writing songs. She'd be this little kid, but she'd be singing a melody that you could actually sing to.
Yeah.
As opposed to, a lot of kids will make little tuneless la 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 la. She would actually do something you'd be like, oh, that's a good melody.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Can you sing that again, please?
Yeah, do that again, yeah. Or she'd sing songs we know, but she'd sing them right. Like she could barely talk, but she could hum the correct melody. We were watching Harry Potter, and she was humming the melody of the background music, and not the main theme, which of course everybody remembers the main theme. Most people. No, she was humming parts that were of like later parts in the movie that weren't prominent, but she like noticed them and would remember them, and she'd be like da 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 da, and I'd be like, oh my gosh. Yeah. So that kind of got me back into music, and I'm so glad it did.
Very good.
Yeah. So I really appreciate. Well, first off, I want to thank you for coming today. Not only and being ambushed by us. Don came to record today, and we ambushed him for this recording.
But it was a friendly ambush.
But it was a friendly ambush. No, but as always, you are a pleasure to talk to, a pleasure to play with, and we'll be working together again in the future, I hope, folks. So stay tuned for that.
Looking forward to it.
This is for Live from Lockdown. Available June 30th. It's going to be available on all streaming platforms for the audio version. It's going to be available on CD, and it's going to be available on Vimeo for the video version if you don't like hardware and want to purchase the streaming version. And then of course it's also going to be available for Blu-ray. And we're going to do a private screening with the band and family and friends. And then it's going to be a release to the world. So, and then there may be some more things that are exciting to announce coming in the future that I'm just going to tease you with, but I'm not actually going to mention. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Take care. This is David McHenry and Don Morgan from Void Contact.